Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rock and Roll with Black Spinner podcast. And with us today is Mr. Will Toth from Will Toth's Rush page. It's a great page to find anything Rush if you were looking for archives or really good live shows, and also on his YouTube page. But also, addition to the Rush page, he also has a lot of Neil Young stuff on there, which is pretty interesting. And that moves us to what we are going to do today. We caught our part one of Neil Young from 1969 to 1979. Well, thank you so much. And now we are going to be doing part two, Neil Young's albums ranking from 1989 to 2012. This is an exciting time for Neil Young. He really did become very ambitious during this time. He wasn't under the microscope anymore. He pretty much did whatever he wanted to do, and it paid off for us fans to really get into that. And now we have the joy to put them in order that we see fit. So let me introduce to y'all Mr. Will Toth. This is probably about his third or fourth time on our podcast, and it's a big thrill to have him back. How's everything going, Will?
Going well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate the introduction and glad to be here. It's been a fun process to go through the Neil Young catalog by decade, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I appreciate it. The plug on my page, Will's Rush page. That's where it all started for me back in the day. That I've had that site for. It started out as a page on Facebook probably 12 years ago, and then it became a group. And the group runs itself. We've got so many good members in there. But you're right. We talk about all kinds of music. We talk about not just Rush, but everybody's there for the same reason, for the love of music. And we get into Neil Young. We get into, because I own the group, and my other group, Will's Music Shop. Again, we have a lot of discussions around different types of music. And because I run it, I get to post what I want, obviously, but we're always open to discussions and new stuff. So it's good. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's get started, Will. This is going to be exciting. We'll go from number 15 down to number 1. So there are 15 albums that were released by Neil Young between 89 and 2012. I think there's going to be no live albums here. This just going to be strictly studio albums. And we went over the list, and I shared the list with Will. And I don't know what he's got ranked, and he doesn't know what I have. It's always a big thrill to find out. And then we go back. I shouldn't speak for both of us, but I'm pretty sure that Will goes back and double checks what I was listening to, just like I go back and maybe he pointed something out that I missed. And then I'll go back and I'll listen to that specific thing that he had mentioned. So it's a great show, and we learn a lot. And also, just to let you know, next week on the Robin Rowe with Black Spinner podcast, next Wednesday, we are going to have a six-person panel we're going to be ranking the best of 1987. Which is going to be interesting. And Will, I know that you were on our 2021 show, and get this, we're doing a top 10, and I have 2 albums from 1987 by bands that were on my 2021 list.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was all like, wow.
That's good. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't want to say it now because then everyone will know, and they'll bust in the newspapers and who knows where.
1987 was a big year for music. I can think of about 5 records come to mind right now.
Yeah, without just looking at a list, right? It was a great time. It was a great transition year.
Absolutely.
From the hard rock to the heavy metal to alternative music was coming in. You know, it was a true bands that were left of the dial, and before. Right before the explosion of grunge and what they would call alternative, but this was true alternative.
Yeah, for
sure. It was a great time.
That'll be a good show for sure.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started, Will.
Sure.
Anything you want to plug in of up and coming things coming for you?
You know what? I'll mention Alex Lifeson's new band again, Envy of None. He just dropped the second track today. That's out there. So I think there's two now. The first song was called Liar, and I can't remember the name of the new one today, but it's very different and it's very interesting. It's not. Alex released a solo record called Victor, and it feels a bit like that. There's some lyrical stuff and some guitar work that sounds a tiny bit like that, but it's not Alex solo. It's a new band. It's a new effort. It's kind of interesting, and so if you want to check it out, obviously you don't go in expecting Rush or Alex Lifeson solo in that sense. It's a brand new band. He's got a young female singer with him, Andy Curran, plays on that record, and there's one other fella, and I can't remember the name right now. But it sounds kind of cool, and it's something that you would not probably expect from Alex. And
But it sounds fresh.
It sounds very fresh, and it's got this. What's interesting is that some of the songs that he recorded for this record were actually initially recorded by him in his home studio back in the 90s, and he shelved them. So he brought those ideas back out, and that's what he's done with them. And now he's worked them into new songs. And there's also a song called the final song on the record, Something Sunset. That's not out yet, but it's a tribute to Neil Peart.
Oh, wow, that's great. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that of sounding like the 90s because the first track kind of reminded me of Garbage, the band from the 90s.
Yes.
With that, with Charlie Manson being the lead singer and having that kind of production and sound.
Yep,
Pretty interesting.
For sure. And that new song today, it has that feel. It's very different, very melodic. Alex likes his soundscapes. When Alex records, and this is interesting, when he records, other bands have asked him to record solos. He'll record, 85 different takes and send all of them to the band that asked him. He's done this many times and say, you use whatever you want.
Oh, wow.
You take what you want. And he did that with when he recorded a song with Platinum Blonde back in the day. Crying Over You, I believe, was the song. It was a big radio hit. He did that with quite a number of other bands over the last few years. And that's what he does. He just gets in the studio and records variations and soundscapes and then, puts it together. So you can kind of feel that in this new release as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm excited about it. It is very different. So,
I saw that it was up on your page today, a new single. So that's great. Also, I want to say hi to Rob Rowe. He's the other half of this podcast. I want to say hi. He couldn't join us today. So let's get started. From 15 down to 1. What is your number 15, Will, for Neil Young?
I'll tell you. I listened to every record last night as I went through this. As I said earlier, I hadn't given some of these records a listen in some time. Some of them I don't own. And probably about 5 or 6 that I don't own, but I was aware of or I had on digital. So my number 15 is Living with War. And that, to me, I don't own it, as I said. It's very different. It definitely makes a political statement. Yep. And I was reading that it was recorded in about 9 days. So Neil felt very moved by what was going on at the time and decided to write the songs and record it very quickly and release it. And I believe, from what I read, he released it streaming or digitally, I should say. Wanted to get his message with that record out. Now, that being said, Neil's always written political songs, and I find his approach very different in the modern era. This felt like anger to me, and he's making a statement. I understand what he's doing. It didn't feel like a good Neil Young record for me. I didn't really enjoy what I was hearing, so I never bought it. And I remember that's the reason I didn't buy it back in the day when it first came out. It didn't click with me. And so that hit my number 15.
Okay. My number 15 was it was an album that he did with Crazy Horse of covers of 18 covers from the 1800s. And I just did not like it at all. That would be Americana.
Yep.
This has songs like "Oh Susanna," "She'll Be Coming Around the Mountains."
Yep.
There was a couple of tracks that I did like his take on Gallows Pole, and Tom Dula was pretty interesting. But Clementine, "Oh Susanna," it just didn't resonate with me. But it is pretty cool that they have the lyrics and the origin of the song, and they're pounded out with Neil Young, Crazy Horse stature, which is pretty cool. But this would be my number 15 because I don't play it that often at all.
Yeah.
I remember I bought it when it came out because it sounded interesting, Americana and these songs. But man, I guess I got what I paid for.
You know what? There were videos to go with that too, if I recall, Andy. And it had some, like you said, the songs are historical in that sense, even though they're his take on them. There's some history there. But I know that when I was doing my research, also there's some videos that relate to it, and it's got a lot of footage from that era that he pieced together. And Neil loves to put together his documentary type
for almost
stuff.
Everything he does.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. Yeah. So not your favorite.
No, that's not my favorite by far. So it starts to get pretty good after a couple here. So that's my number 15. What do you got number 14?
Americana is my number 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I gave it a solid listen again last night. It's not something that I would go to buy, number one, or put on. It's not something that I would reach to put on and listen to.
Right.
Even traveling in the car. It's it just doesn't work for me. I get it. Again, he's got a message. He's capturing it. And that's one thing I do like about him is that if he has an idea and he wants to capture something that happened historically, he does that. And you could say the same thing for Living with War. He's captured an idea and put it to music, basically, and added, or created lyrics around it and built songs around it. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to like it. But that's what we love about Neil is, he does what he wants.
Yeah.
You take what you get, and if you don't like it, move on. There's lots of stuff in the catalog, right? So
yeah, exactly. There's, he's an artist, and that's what we love about rock and roll, and that's what we love about singer-songwriters and rock and roll is that they put themselves out there. Whatever on their mind is what they're going to tell you, or what's going on in their life, they're going to tell you. That's why rock and roll is so deep. It's real.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
My number 14, I'm going to go with Fork on the Road. That's my number 14. Not a bad record. It's a little short. Now that I'm thinking about it, this is number 14 because that's where it belongs for me on this list. But man, he's got some pretty good songs on here and talks a lot about the environment and stuff like that, which we know if you're a Neil Young fan or you follow Neil Young, that's a big topic for him. In a lot of different areas and different medias. But this one here, the video for this is it's all right. This is an album that I do pull out every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I do listen to it, and it's pretty cool because, this was a selfie of him years before there were selfies. So he was already breaking the mold on something that's so popular these days, but this is almost 10 years old.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that record is, it's got some catchy beats to it, some grooves. Again, it's very not political, but it's creating a message around the environment. Fossil fuel engines. I think he makes mention of, Fork in the Road, the song Fork in the Road. mankind is going to hit a point where we have to stop relying on fossil fuels and make a choice for the environment, and that's the fork in the road. But yeah, it's interesting, and I don't hate it, but I'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate it either, and in fact, I do put it on there because there's a couple of tracks that I do like on there, like Johnny, I forgot Johnny do something, but yeah, that's my number 14.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What am I at? 13. Okay. So now this one is interesting. I chose Greendale only because, and I understand this is very popular, and it tells a very good story. And I know there was a DVD show, of a concert show from this as well, which I recently watched a bit, and it kind of piqued my interest. So the only reason it ended up in number 13 is because I don't know the content very well, and I don't own it. And initially when it came out, I was like, nah, I'm not really into that. I won't listen to it. But now since I've been listening to it a little bit more, and I watched some of that DVD on YouTube, it's piqued my interest about the story. And I think Be the Rain, correct me if I'm wrong, Be the Rain is on that record.
Yeah, it is.
One of the tracks. Okay, so now that's one track that I do listen to, and it always stood out for me. It's a very good song. So then I started to investigate a little further. And it's something that I would like to explore, and that's part of what we do here too, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that piques my interest. So that's kind of why it ended up on position 13, only because I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, wow.
If I had a month with it, it would probably move up the list a little bit. So that's my take on that.
And I'll talk about Greendale when I get to that.
Sure. Okay.
Number 13. I can't count backwards that well. This one here, I love the lead-off track to this album. The lead-off track's called Big Time. Love that song.
Yep.
But the rest of it just doesn't gel with me. I'm talking about Broken Arrow.
Okay. Yep.
By Neil Young. After Big Time, you got Loose Change and Slip Away, but then it just starts to sound the same throughout. Yep. There's like no break and no change on this album. They're just pounding it out and pounding it out. And which I love, but then every once in a while you need a break from that.
Yeah.
And it just sounded like one big piece of music to me.
Yep.
Oh, well, just like Neil Young has said, it's all one long song.
Yep, that's right.
And that's what Broken Arrow reminds me of, and so that's why I put it where I put it.
It's interesting. I'll talk about that more in a bit, but if I recall, the first 3 songs on that record are like 6+ minute songs.
Right? Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he did a number of those on Year of the Horse. If you recall. And that's where he makes that statement about
it's all one long song.
Exactly. And I find those live jams are a bit long as well, and they're not necessarily going anywhere, and they sound just like the studio tracks from that CD. So. It's interesting. There are a couple of other little songs, shorter songs on there that are of interest, but it's not one of the best, I think. Yeah,
like you said, it kind of goes nowhere. You're waiting for it, and it just doesn't come.
Yeah, it's so put together. It doesn't feel like a full Neil record in that sense with Crazy Horse. So
yeah, exactly. It's not pieced together right.
Yeah, exactly. So, for number 12 for me is Silver and Gold. Now, here's another one that felt like it was trying to be Harvest or like that. But there are a couple of catchy tunes on there, but it's something I never owned also. So it fell low on the list for me. Mm-hmm. I gave it a preview last night, and there were a couple of things I liked, but I found that I was skipping. And I can't honestly remember any standout tracks on there. And I know a lot of it is acoustic. I don't think Crazy Horse played on that. I think there might be a couple members of Crosby, Stills, Nash that played, and Rick Rosas as well, I believe.
Yeah, of course.
On there, yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not a standout record for me, and I'm sure some people love it because it does have an acoustic feel, and it almost feels like a demo version of Harvest in some ways. That's where he's trying to recapture some of that. I'm not really sure. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
My thoughts on that one, well, I'll talk about it a little bit more when I get to it. But the first time I saw Neil Young was in it was a solo show, acoustically, an acoustic solo show, and it was right after Silver and Gold.
Okay.
So when I bought it, I loved it, and I'll talk more about it when I get to it because it's an album that I do enjoy. Okay. And what I enjoy about it was the acoustic. It was a very laid back album.
Yep.
In the same vein as There Comes a Time. Reminds me of.
Okay.
And it's still got those backing vocals also on there by Linda Ronstadt, I believe, I think. Yep. Or at that time it might even have been Astrid and Peggy. So I'll talk more about that when I get to it.
You make a good point, Andy, though. I gotta say, seeing something performed live can definitely change your opinion on certain music, right?
Yeah.
So I know I saw Neil tours. People hated This Note's for You when that came out.
Okay.
I loved it. I saw the tour, blew me away. I went out and bought the Blue Notes CD after, and yeah, absolutely loved it. One of my favorites. There's some great stuff on there: power jazz, power swing. People hated that stuff when he did that, and I thought it was really cutting edge when he did that. So, and I loved it because I saw it live, which was great. So.
You see, that's funny that you say that because I got This Notes for You, and I got the Blue Note Cafe. Yeah. And when you bought the Blue Note Cafe from his website, you were given a Neil Young calendar, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I guess because you saw it live, it touches you differently because I really don't care for it.
Yeah.
I've tried. I just can't get into that sound of his,
Yeah.
And I give him all the props in the world for trying different stuff. And,
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree. And it's funny because my wife and I saw that tour, and he played 3 different versions of This Note's for You: acoustic, electric, and piano.
Well, so, of course.
I was like, only Neil would play the same song 3 times in 3 variations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also have Blue Note Cafe. A friend of mine gave that to me, and I really liked hearing the live sessions.
Yeah.
Part of the archives package, I think, but
it is
a smaller venue too, like the Roxy is another one in a smaller venue,
Which one?
The Roxy Live.
Okay.
Tonight's the night at the Roxy. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that is so great, and I'm so glad that you brought that to my attention because it's really. I mean, if you think that the studio album for Tonight's the Night is harrowing, HARROWING, listen to it live at the Roxy. It's a whole different feel that brings you to the despair of loneliness and it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about Tonight's the Night the last time, it's a album that you need to be in the mood for, and that Roxy, you really got to be in the mood.
You really do
for that. And when you're in that perfect mood and you put on live at the Roxy, you will be rewarded.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah.
I agree. It's like it's the same record, only even more depressing in many ways, but
beautiful at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Good. So where are we?
We're on number
11. 11 for me.
No, we're on number 15, 14. We're on number 12.
Yes. We did. I mentioned my 12 was Silver and Gold.
Oh, okay. All right, that's what I started talking about. My number 12 is going to be Chrome Dreams 2.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think we did a drop the needle on this, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I have it here too.
Yeah.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on that one?
My thoughts on this one is that there were other albums that I liked more. This is the period where it started to get hard for me to put stuff together.
Yeah.
The three that I mentioned earlier before, those were easy.
Yeah.
This started to get hard for me.
Yeah.
So Chrome Dreams 2 is there. I really have no reason why. Maybe it was now that I'm looking at these songs, it could have been a little bit higher. Because Ordinary People is a great track. And so is Boxcar. And he's got some really great lengthy guitar solos on this album. And they really pound it out pretty good too. Spirit Road is a fantastic track too.
Yeah.
But, I'm not saying that this is a bad album because it's not. Yeah. I will be very blunt when there's something I don't like. But, like Shining Light could have, I could have done without Shining Light.
Yep.
And there were just a couple of tracks here that kept me away from putting this higher. Like Dirty Old Man was a fun song, but the long songs on here were so good. The guitar work was done fantastically, but that's where I have to put this one is at number 12.
Yeah, that's an intro. I think you're right on with that. It's a good take on it. It's got some good tracks. The longer things are good tracks, good storytelling, good jams. With some smaller, shorter tracks on here that just feel a little bit misplaced. And I think if I recall, a lot of this material, some of this material is written at different times, right? And this album was he brought it together to release this. This was supposed to be released in the 70s.
Right.
It shot a number of tracks and then brought it out at this time. So, I think your assessment's good.
And he name checks Lee Iacocca. So, that was written back in the day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. For number 11, I've got Fork in the Road. So it's funny. If I was listening to it last night and I was thinking there's some good, as I said earlier, some good jams here. It's got a good feel to it. And it's kind of a CD. I would take it on a car trip. If I was going on a road trip, I would take this with me.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to throw a few of those tracks on your playlist for that because it's got that driving feel. It's about, cars. It's about life on the road. It's got all those themes in there. Gasoline, fuel, engines, all that stuff. So I think it'd be good for that. But it fell low on my list. Even though I do like some of the tracks, it's not something I'm going to put on every day. But it surprises me sometimes when I do listen to it. It's not all bad.
No, it's not.
Like I said, there's some good work on there, lyrics aside, and it's innovative. So, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of where it fell for me, number 11.
Oh, my number 11. You're going to kill me. You're going to kill me. But my number 11 is going to be Mirror Ball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's my number 11. It just, it's a good album.
Yep.
But there is a big difference between being backed by Pearl Jam and being backed by Crazy Horse.
Right. Yep.
And when you hear Neil Young with his big guitar and his noise, you want Crazy Horse with him.
Yeah, it's true.
And but the songs on here, they're not written on here. Where are they? Song X and I'm the Ocean. I love I'm the Ocean and Truth Be Known.
Yep.
And that great little ballad song, What Happened Yesterday.
Yep.
I just love that. And then it goes into Downtown.
Yep.
Throw Your Hatred Down is such a masterpiece.
Yep.
And on I'm the Ocean, he said he does that line that people my age don't do the things I do, which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy every album is a breaking barriers. It's weird how he keeps on doing that, and that's why he's great. But these are 5 great tracks, but unfortunately, the ones that I have in front of these will have better tracks on there, and albums that have better, more songs that I like more on here. And I know that you really like this album, and I've been wanting to do a Drop the Needle on it, and hopefully we'll do one soon. But that's where I got this one.
Well,
and I was kind of shocked myself when I put it in there.
Yeah. Well, I think your assessment's good. It's not Crazy Horse. It's Pearl Jam, and they're a good band.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. And to back Neil Young, I mean, for them to do a project like this with him, that was a huge thing for them. And,
for both of them at the same time.
Both of them, exactly. Mm-hmm. I love I'll start with the packaging. The cardboard packaging is excellent. I've got a bootleg German copy of the LP because to find an original LP of this, you're into a couple $100.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to find. So I managed to find a German bootleg, and it sounds amazing. And it's the same type of cardboard that this is laid out in, and it's very well made. But I think your assessment of the songs is great. And I'll talk about it a little bit more when I get there. But I want to show you something while we're talking about that. I think you might have saw this on my site, but I managed to get this recently. Oh, that's terrible glare. Let me
what is it?
This is there we go. This is Pearl Jam.
Oh, yeah.
These are the Mirror Ball. This is the Mirror Ball show. Okay, so the Mirror Ball live session radio broadcast from 1995.
Oh, wow. Yes. I did see that on your music page.
Yeah, and I found this through a friend who connected me to a site, and they have all these unique unreleased recordings, and they're all like either soundboard or radio broadcast. They're not, audience recordings. This is really good. And the variations, I got to say, the way they played some of the songs you mentioned they do a number of tracks, obviously, from Mirrorball. And there's some Neil stuff on here as well. But the variations that they do surprise me. They're quite different than what you hear on Mirrorball. So the live presentation is very different. It was an interesting listen. So I'll burn this at some point and send you a copy because I think you should hear it. And it might, it's a good, interesting listen. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, and I do love the album. And then I've also got on CD. Pearl Jam had released a 2-song single called Merkin Ball that Neil is also on.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And it came on at about the same time as Mirror Ball. That's called Merkin Ball. And it's a single, it's a CD single.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I see Robert's joined us.
Yeah.
Very good. Hi, Robert. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I knew this would be an interesting process because we have very in-depth knowledge of Neil Young, and our tastes are pretty much aligned.
Yeah.
There's going to be variations, of course, and I find that interesting, but it prompts me to go and listen to stuff again and, give it another spin, and you never know, right? So
yeah. That's what I was saying earlier is that we listen to each other's points of views, and I'll go back tonight and take down what you had said. So yeah.
Yep. So where are we at? Let's see, number 10 for me, I guess.
Yeah, number 10.
So I chose number 10, Prairie Wind. And again, it's funny, I own 2 copies of this.
Yeah.
And I think my wife had one. I have one, and we had the accompaniment DVD, which is just a screensaver, basically. I don't know if you recall that, but it's a picture of a woman, if I recall.
Putting up laundry.
Yeah, putting up laundry in a field. Yeah, exactly, which is kind of cool. But the songs itself, and I'm honestly drawing a blank because when I never really could get into the record. And when I listened to it last night, I didn't really change my opinion on it. It's like, I think there's definitely some good lyrics on there, some good writing.
Oh yeah.
Some good acoustic work as well. I don't hate it, but it's not something that I would jump to. But again, that being said, after this exercise, I'll probably go back and listen to it again, because I know there's probably some good stuff on there that I just haven't spent the time with, you know?
Yeah, I'm just going to say it's in my top 5.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It really is.
Okay. So
yeah.
There you go. All the more reason for me to go back and listen to it again.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. What do you got?
This one, I threw away the cover of it because, when he had covers, sometimes they were cardboard, and I try to put on my CDs and a package thing because I have so much. I'm trying to save room. So my number 9, we're at 9, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to be Illinois.
Okay.
With Daniel Lanois, and I saw this live. And
okay. Wow. Okay.
And he was a one-man show with electric guitar. You've heard the album, all the feedback that went into this album. He played this whole thing live, and it was the first time I heard the Hitchhiker, which I didn't know that was originally done in the 70s. Now we hear it in different variations with the Neil Young archives coming out. But I remember after the show, it was great because he also played a couple of tracks afterwards, like Ohio and stuff like that.
Right.
But I remember we were in the elevator going down, and there was it was a multiplex place here in downtown Houston. And this one girl, she was like maybe in her late teens. She said, "Oh, where are y'all coming from?" Because there was different concerts going on. And someone said Neil Young. And she said, "Oh, I've never heard of him. Who is he?" Which I was fine with that. Maybe not everyone knows that. Sure. But someone that was at the show said, "Oh, well, he's a singer from the 70s. Didn't you just hear that new album he just played for you?
Yeah.
Beginning to end? Were you not there?" How can you... How can you call him a singer from the 70s when he just played a whole new album for you?
That's funny.
But a couple of really good tracks on here, which I need to look up. If you can give me a moment to look it up. It's got some really interesting songs, and I really like the atmosphere that Daniel Lanois put in there. Mm-hmm. And how Neil Young records is the way that Daniel Lanois did it. They were saying that they weren't using that. Neil likes to record through a PA,
right?
And that's how they did this album. And just let me get the tracks on here. Lanois. It's got to be here somewhere. Oh yeah, it's really good. Walk with Me. Mm-hmm. And Love and War is a really good track. Some people pray to Allah, some people pray to God, but they always pray about love and war. That's a good track. Of course, The Hitchhiker, Peaceful Valley Boulevard, and Sign of Love. And it's so great because he uses his guitar as an atmosphere sound. With a lot of reverb. I don't want to say a lot of reverb like Arc, because these were actual songs.
That's right.
And this was one of the albums that I'll put part of his ambitiousness during this time.
Right.
Because, when I'm saying ambitious, it's because no one sounded like this. There is no other album that I can think of in rock music that sounds like Lanois.
It's a good point, and I can imagine the live presentation was interesting.
Yeah, it really was.
Because the album, I'll be honest, it's higher on my list because I really like the production of it. I think it's different and it's well produced.
Yeah.
And I read also that I didn't know this, but I learned it a couple of years ago. Neil likes to record under a full moon. He prefers to record during a full moon cycle. Mm-hmm. And Daniel Lanois, is that correct?
Yeah.
he wanted to capture that essence. So he went to great lengths to fly out so they could record in, I think, Neil's studio or wherever it was, at night. And the entire record was recorded at night and produced that way. So I thought that kind of was interesting because it captures the production value nicely,
Right. It catches that mood.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mood album, and it's different. But there's some good songs on there, and lyrically as well. So.
Oh yeah. The lyrics were good. I mean, the lyrics and the sound match each other. Yeah.
Every World is a very good song too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And speaks to what's going on at the time as well. I think it could be applied to what's happening in the world today. So it's a well written song, and yeah, that's interesting where you placed it. Yeah, cool, good. All right, so what are we at? I'm at number 9, I guess. So my number 9 was Chrome Dreams 2. And,
okay.
That's where that fell in. I know we talked about it a little bit. It doesn't have. There's some interesting tracks like we talked about, but it doesn't have a flow to it.
No. Yeah.
It feels pieced together. It doesn't have an overarching flow or theme. And maybe it does in Neil's mind, but I feel like it's a bit pieced together. But there, as you said earlier, some of the longer tracks, some excellent playing on there and jamming, guitar work, and production value. I'll say production value is very good as well on that record, especially Ordinary People, and the other big one, Spirit Road. Very jamming on there. And I don't think that's Crazy Horse, is it?
No, it's not. But Ralph Molina is on drums.
Yes. Yeah.
But at the time, we all know. As Rick Rosas played a lot with him during this time until his untimely passing.
Yes.
But what I also liked about the album is the perfectly placed horn section.
Yes. Yeah.
Was just perfect.
Yeah.
It didn't take away. Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
It didn't take away from the heavy guitar. It was added for just the right touch.
Yeah.
It wasn't like This Note's for You where the horns just took over.
Yeah. Right.
It was nicely placed and the production was great on there and the ideas were great. So
it almost feels like the backing band was sort of like Booker T in the MGs,
Yeah.
That's what it felt like a bit. And maybe there's some members on there. I'd have to read the notes, but that's what it feels like to me, at least in those longer pieces. Because it's his backing band, like a lot of his backing bands have been very, very good for that type of stuff that he's done over the years, And Rosas was a great bass player. I saw Neil do a version with him of Cortez the Killer. And the stuff the guy was doing on the bass, it blew me away. It was a very different version than, say, what Crazy Horse would do.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Frank Poncho was here too on guitar.
Oh, okay.
And it was Chad Cromwell that was on drums.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And, of course, Ben Keith.
Yep.
And that was the rock side. Of course, we talked about Rick Rosas.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's the thing. It's there's some good tracks on here. There's some tracks I would listen to and keep on my playlist. But it's not something not everything on there would jumps out for me. But the stuff that I do like, I really like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Production values there. So good. What you got next?
What I got next, you just had Chrome Dreams 2. This is where I placed Silver and Gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Which we weren't that far off. And on here, was with Ben Keith, Jim Keltner, Spooner Oldman, Duck Dunn, and Neil Young.
Okay.
Some of his good friends.
Yep.
Band members that we're very comfortable with. Now, I do want to touch. Nope. No. Now, Good to See You. It's such a good track.
Oh, Yeah.
Good to see the way it turns, the way that it jumps off, and also Razor Love. It's a good track. Go back to that. Silver and Gold, and Buffalo Springfield again, where he talks about Buffalo Springfield.
Yep.
And how, and they were supposed to get back about this time. Of course, we all know Neil. He'll scrap things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
At the drop of a dime. And in fact, it reminds me of a story that I was hearing on a podcast called Rock Rivals. I think I found it on Apple Music. And what it is that every week they've got a episode about different what's the word I'm looking for? About different music rivals. And this was during the Neil Young and Stephen Stills band time, and they were touring it. And they were in different buses. And this was on the East Coast, like around the Carolinas or the Virginias. And Stephen Stills was following Neil Young. And Neil Young was supposed to take a right, instead went left and kept on going. And Stephen Stills got to the hotel. There was a message there for him saying, change the plans. Love, Neil.
Nice.
It's like they were in the middle of this thing,
Yeah, I changed my mind.
Yeah, changed my mind.
Yeah, moving on. That's funny. Yeah, I can see him doing it though, because he's all about the arts and the change of thoughts process, and that's it.
Yeah, you know how Neil Young is.
Yeah, I'll come back to that later.
So there's about four or five good tracks that you're right. It's got that Harvest feel, but the writing is also, well, there's a couple of songs that I had read or heard that they came a little bit from the past.
Yeah.
But they sound great. And, I remember when this came out, I believe it was like 99 or 2000.
Yeah.
And my cousin and I played the hell out of it when this came out.
Right.
Because there was a big gap there between this one and Broken Arrow, almost a 5-year gap.
Yeah.
And we were waiting for something to come out, and this came out, and we played it, and we enjoyed it. Probably about 6 tracks in, we started to get a little tired, like on track 7 or 8. But still, if you're talking about an album and the first 6 tracks are good, it's a good album.
Oh, for sure, absolutely, and you make me want to go back and give it another explore. So
yeah, you really should.
Yeah, I will. I trust your opinion on Neil Young stuff. So, yeah, we wouldn't be doing this and be successful at it if I wasn't learning from it, right? So
yeah,
good. It's good. Same goes with the other podcasts. So last night, that was really good. I didn't know much about Kiss. I was never a Kiss fan. I learned last night about them, and all I ever knew about Kiss was the Rush toured with them, and they were a very hardworking band, very popular. I know that they had a lot of records, and they've been around a long time. But I never really took the time to go explore them, so I got to do that now.
Yeah, well, I'm new to the Kiss thing myself since 2015.
Yeah,
and they're an okay band.
Mm-hmm.
I do listen to them more, and I saw the comments that you were making, but I kept on saying user, Facebook user, and it didn't have your name. It wasn't until last night when I went back because I go back and I see the videos and take notes of what I can improve on, and then I saw your name, that you were the one making all the comments. So
no problem.
Yeah,
no, like I said, Kiss, an interesting band. I wouldn't know. I know their hits, obviously, and I know they put on an amazing live show, visual presentation, crazy. Rush has a lot of respect for them because I remember reading in one of Neil's books how, and I think Getty mentioned it too in an interview at some point, how they always made them feel welcome. They were young. They didn't really know the road yet, Rush, and they made them feel welcome. Always made sure that they had a proper sound check time. A lot of bands in the 70s, they didn't do that. They didn't care.
You don't do that.
No,
I
they don't
mean,
do that.
they don't do that anymore.
No, that's right.
They can care less about their warm-up bands these days.
Exactly.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, that's good. That's why we do these things, right? So we learn so much. It's good. So what do we got? For me, number 8, Broken Arrow. So
Which one?
Broken Arrow, number 8.
Okay.
So I kind of placed it there because there are some. I'm just looking at the track list again, and yeah, like I said, the first 3 songs are all over 7 minutes, and then you get into some shorter pieces like Changing Highways, and then into Scattered. Let's Think About Living, which is actually a pretty good song. This Town, I don't remember. Music Arcade, and Baby What You Want Me to Do, a Jimmy Reed song. So, and then I guess on the vinyl, there's a bonus track, Interstate is on there.
So, which track?
On the vinyl release, there's a bonus track, Interstate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't hate this record. And that's kind of why it ended up on my number 8, because it's, what year did it come out? 1990, right? Bonus track. I'm just reading.
And it came on like right after Mirror Ball.
Yeah, 96. I'm just looking at recorded in 96, released in 96. That's right. So the 90s output, I was still buying a lot of CDs at that point.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, of course. We had switched over by then. So that's why I remember this album standing out, because I did play it a lot. And even though some of the songs are longer and a bit jammy, and that's fine. And I agree with you, some of the jams go on a little bit too much. And you're not sure where they're going. But then I think back to, you put it on, you're listening to it, you're doing other stuff, whatever, it's okay. I think back to like Led Zeppelin, live stuff, live material. They would have extended jams. You wouldn't necessarily know where they were going either, but because it was pretty cool what they were doing as Led Zeppelin, they would take an 8-minute song and make it into a 20-minute epic,
Yeah.
So I kind of thought of it like that when I first heard it, Broken Arrow, with these longer pieces. And then, like I said, it gets into these shorter bits. It's not a bad album. It's not a terrible album. That's kind of where it ended up for me, number 8. Because I remember I have a fond memories of 90s output from Neil, especially early 90s, early to mid to late, 90s basically, because I was really into Neil Young at that time.
Yeah. You see, that's when I started getting into Neil Young, was in the late 90s.
Yeah.
That's when I really started to gear up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why this one ended up on my number 8. So.
My number 8 is an album that moved up during this week. You know how you say when you're getting ready for a show, you start to listen to different stuff and you start to listen to albums. And this one moved up for me. And I really enjoyed it. And I know that if I had more time, I'd probably enjoy it a little bit more as well. That's Sleep with Angels.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And another album that was very ambitious on his part. It doesn't even sound like this is Crazy Horse on here, but it is.
Yep.
And Crazy Horse also show their chops of playing different instruments.
Yep.
And playing them beautifully instead of the ragged, heavy, distorted. I mean, they were putting beautiful touches on their backing vocals, on the piano. This was such an ambitious album.
Yep.
And My Heart is a great song. Drive By, Sleeps with Angels. I love Western Hero.
Yep.
When I'm hearing Western Hero, I feel like it's telling a story of a veteran, of someone who fought for his country, and a Western hero. And of course, the epic Change Your Mind.
Yep.
Oh,
epic piece, great live piece. Also on Year of the Horse. Excellent live.
Yeah.
Extended track. Yeah.
It's amazing that you're listening to this track and then you're like, wow, that was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that 15 minutes, if it feels like nothing, it's such a great jam.
Yep.
And of course, Piece of Crap,
Classic.
pretty funny. it goes back to fucking up with that kind of feel to it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where I got Sleep with Angels.
Yep.
You know, I've heard and I've read that this was written for and dedicated to Kurt Cobain. I don't see how.
Yeah, I read that too, and I thought "Sleeps with Angels," the song, was dedicated to him. I'd have to read the liner notes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the whole record is.
Okay.
I think "Sleep with Angels" speaks to him, the whole thing, committing suicide, and then citing Neil's like a hurricane in lyrics, I believe, in his suicide note and the whole thing. So I think you're right about that, but I think it's just a song, and I don't see it. I've got the CD here too. And
the thing is that it's weird because, Kurt died of April of '94.
Yeah.
And this was also released in '94.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So did they pound this out so quickly? And which we know Neil Young's very famous for scrapping songs off and adding songs, and
right.
with going from the seat of his pants.
Yeah. No, it's true. I'm just looking at the lyrics. My Heart, Blue Eden, Safeway. Okay. Speaking of the songs on here, Safeway Card, excellent lyrics on that song. That's got a great feel to it.
Yeah, you're right.
I like that, and Trans Am too. Like, there's some good B-side tunes here too. Like, there's really good songs on this record. I'm just looking for a reference to what's the song called that we're talking about. Hang on. Sleeps with Angels. So
yeah, and I just Yeah. I just don't see it. But I guess it's abstractly.
Yeah, I don't see anything
that points out quite a bit. But man, was this a good album?
Yeah,
it really was. And I was hearing it on my phone, and taking my dogs walking, and I'm hearing it on my headset. So I'm gonna play this on my record player tonight, and get the full body of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it. Let me check that quickly. Let me see if that song is dedicated or not. I'll just give me a second here. Okay, 26 Angels. Co-produced by David Briggs. Oh, yeah. Okay, it is. The album was conceived as a conscious attempt to recapture some of the atmospheric experiments Young and Crazy Horse played around with after the Gold Rush era. Majority of the album was recorded before the fact. Young created the title track after the suicide of Kurt Cobain, who quoted him in a suicide note. So it is the title track is dedicated to him. Interesting.
Because on his suicide note, he did write, "It's better to fade away. No, it's better to burn out than to fade away."
Yep.
So
that's interesting. Well, I got to tell you,
it's this rock and roll community, man. It's it's like everything can be linked together.
Yeah,
you can start with a band and just start linking things together. Yep. It's a wonderful thing.
Amazing. And it's funny, after now that we've talked about it, it's actually my number 7. Sleeps with Angels. I put it up there as well.
Yeah.
Because I really like it. And I always felt the lyrics were really good. It was well written. The songs have a lot of meaning.
Ambitious.
Even when you get past, the first 45 songs, great songs. Actually, the first 6 songs, great songs. And then you get into Blue Eden, and then there's more. You got Safeway Card, Train of Love, Trans Am, and then, of course, Piece of Crap.
It's almost a whole complete album. Yeah.
Right. That's right. There's not a bad track on this. It flows very nice. It's got some really memorable lyrics and themes. It's just a good record. And again, it's another '90s release, as you said. So I think it's good. I think it's an excellent record. That's kind of where it landed high on my list.
Yeah. My number 8. This one, you and I looked at this differently. Mine is "Living with War."
Okay.
I absolutely love this album.
Yeah.
It talked about his feelings about "There's a Storm."
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
The songs on here: "After the Garden," "Living with War," "Shock and Awe," "Flags of Freedom." Man, you really need to check out that song, "Flags of Freedom."
Okay.
And families, talks about how families are broken up because their other significant other or their other family members have to go fight war.
Right.
"Looking for a Leader" is a really good track too. But then again, this has a lot to do with American politics, American war. It name checks people. In fact, on "Looking for a Leader," it name checks Obama before Obama was president.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting in itself. And also Hillary too. Saying maybe it's a woman maybe it's a woman after all. "Roger and Out" is a great track as well. But you should really give this another shot. I got this on CD and vinyl. When it came out on vinyl, I went and grabbed it because I loved it so much. It's a good album. You're right. The music isn't that spectacular. The music is kind of just a by numbers rock album.
Yeah.
But to me, it was the lyrics that stood out to me on this album.
That's interesting. I saw some clips about. He did a documentary on that tour. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because he. And I don't know much about it, but I guess there were some upset vets that he interviewed, and then some people who loved it too. And I guess the live presentation. And one thing about Neil, he can create a stir. That's for sure.
And with this controversy that was going on with Joe Rogan, people say, "Oh, Neil this, Neil that." Neil Young has always been controversial. Neil Young has never shied away from controversy. He'll start it up with the best of them, and he'll walk away with his own merits.
That's right.
With this album, I've seen a couple of interviews. He did one with CNN. They caught up with him and they said, "Did you write this album just to gain sales?" He said, "Have you seen my sales for the last 20 years? I don't care about my record sales."
Yeah.
And he went on tour with this, with Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And people walked out on this show. They didn't like the message. Crosby, Stills, and Nash begged him not to play these songs. And he said, "What are we going to do? Sing Teach Your Children over and over?" Because that's all that Crosby, Stills, and Nash brought to the table were 70 songs.
Right.
This guy, Neil, has albums to push, albums to sell.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but I could really do without them.
Yeah, I've got 2 of their records. Deja Vu was big one.
Yeah, of course.
Played the hell out of that. Loved it.
Yeah.
Had a great psychedelic feel. And I've got American something or other. I always had that one. I forget what it's called, but one of their '90s releases. Talks about the Shadow Man and a couple other tracks on there. America something, I forget. But it's actually a good record. There's some good playing on there. But that's it. I was never hugely into them.
Yeah.
They're folky, obviously, and they're, big 60s band, of course. But yeah, it's not something I've ever collected, to be honest.
No, yeah. It's got to say Young for me to get it.
Yeah.
In other words,
Right.
if it doesn't have Young, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get just Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Did you ever hear the story about Neil? I think I might have told you this before, playing Australia. So he went there in the 70s on the Harvest Tour. And I guess he didn't get to Australia a lot, but he did the Harvest Tour there and probably a couple others around that era. And then he went back in, I think, the 80s to Australia. And it was on either the Trans or Reactor Tour, one of those tours, probably Trans. So he shows up at this venue in Australia, and people were expecting Harvest Neil Young. And he's doing this decoder stuff from Trans tour and all this electronic 80s stuff that he was doing, that experimental stuff. They went crazy. They destroyed the place. They had to cancel the show, and he left, and I don't think he went back for I don't know how long after that, if at all. But they just tried. They were so mad they destroyed the venue, and because they wanted Harvest Neil Young, 70s Neil Young,
Yeah, and, but that stuff was 10 years old.
Well, that's right, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of an interesting story, but that's what happened there. So I'm not sure if he ever went back. I think he did. I remember reading in one of his books, he always talked about when his fame peaked in the 70s with Harvest and those type of records, the folky stuff, acoustic stuff. He would go to shows and he would get pissed off because the first 30 rows were nothing but business people. And the business people. So bookies, marketing people, and people who had been, given tickets by the promoters and that sort of thing, radio people, not fans. And he said the fans are always in behind. And it pissed him off a lot. So he made some changes around that because it's like, well, no, my fans should have access to the best seats. They're the ones that want to see me. These people are here. Half of them don't even know who I am, but they got tickets. For promoters, and they fill the seats up and they get the best seats. And he said it's not right. So he got quite vocal about that and made some changes. So it's interesting, right?
Yeah. It's funny that that you mentioned that. My wife was telling me probably about a couple of weeks ago about how Billy Joel takes fans that are the very back and moves them up to the very front.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because he says the same thing, that his fans should be in the front with him.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
And hopefully, he's coming in September to Houston. Hopefully, I'm able to see him. Al Horta sees him quite a bit because he's got that residency in Madison Square Garden.
Right. Okay.
And I think Al goes when he can. Speaking of Al, he's going to go see Dream Theater today.
Yeah, I saw that. He's going to be in for a real treat.
Yeah, because you saw them about a week and a half ago, didn't you?
I saw them last week in Toronto, first show in 2 years. So it was fantastic. They were amazing.
Oh, that was your first show in 2 years?
Yeah. Because
really?
Because of the pandemic, everything was in lockdown. So we haven't had any bands come to Toronto for 2 years. So the last band I saw in 2019 in April was Dream Theater. So I've seen them twice now. Amazing. They were amazing, put on an amazing show. So I think Al will really enjoy it. I don't know if he's seen them before, but he'll have a great time. Oh,
well, like I said before, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get into them. And,
yeah.
It's just one of those bands where people say you should really get into them. And I'm like, I'm listening to too much right now. I just can't.
Yeah, no, you know what? So it's weird because I really like them. I hated them when I first heard them. I was like, I can't do this. It's too much.
Yeah.
I think of them as almost like Rush on speed in some ways. Like they're very talented musicians.
Oh yeah, I don't give them. I mean, I don't hate them. I know they're very talented, and I respect them.
Yep.
That's what it is. I respect them, but I don't listen to them. But I know who they are, and I know exactly what they've given to rock lovers, and and I know that people are rabid about them and they love them.
They are.
So, more power to them.
Yeah, for sure. I like their later work. Like I didn't even know who they were until about 2019. After Rush retired in 2015, Neil passed in 20.
Yeah.
I started listening to a lot of other stuff because I had been on a Rush journey for 35 years. So I listened to other music as well. But a lot of Rush.
But that was your main stuff, yeah.
My main stuff, right. So I started looking at other stuff. I started listening to progressive metal. That's how I discovered Dream Theater, black metal, Norwegian metal, all kinds of stuff, and other types of music. And that's kind of how I got into them a little bit. So I bought their CD in 2019, Distance Over Time, on a whim. And then I liked it so much, I bought 2 tickets to see them. I didn't know a thing about them. I went down there. I met this guy down there younger than me, and he told me all about the history, and got into the music. And I was like, okay. I didn't know a lot of the tunes except the new record when I went. It did quite good. I got lucky, but they did a lot of backtracks and deep cuts. And I was like, okay, I got to investigate this because I don't know what this stuff is. That's kind of how it started, and then I really got into them. But I actually prefer I think like a lot of bands, they've gotten better. And I'd say their output in the last 10 years, I enjoy more than, say, the early stuff. And that's just for me. Some people would tell you they love the early stuff, but they've been around for like 30 years,
Yeah, they've been around for a long time. I remember when they had come out with their first big hit, I guess, Hold Me Under.
Yep.
I guess was their first big hit or really breaking out into the mainstream.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I took my sister-in-law to the show, and she had never seen them or really heard of them. And I said, well, look at it this way. If you hate what you're hearing, just wait 4 to 8 minutes and the time signature will change. And you might like the next piece. Because a lot of times they're like 20 to 40 minutes, right? So anyway, it was fun. I'm glad I got to go.
Oh, yeah, man. That's great. I love it when people go see stuff that they love.
Yeah.
That's great.
For sure.
So what's your next one?
I'm on number 6. And my number 6 is Lanois. And I know we talked about it. I've only got the digital copy of that, but again, back to the lyrics and the production, really enjoy it, and it has a unique feel.
It really does.
Yeah, and I wish I had seen the live show. I think that would be interesting. Was the entire show electric and acoustic? Was there any
No. It was just him with the electric guitar.
Cool. Okay.
That's it. Wow. It was him and the black guitar with him. Okay. That's it. Which is, he didn't change to the piano or the water pump or the water pump organ or nothing like that. He just straight up jammed.
I see. Wow.
And we saw him in a little place called Jones Hall, which is downtown here in Houston, and it's so funny because we saw Jerry Seinfeld in the same place too.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool to see 2 icons that are some of my favorites in the same place. So that was cool.
That's good. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's high up on my list, and I kind of like it. It's something I throw on every now and then.
Yeah.
So more frequently than some of the others. So it's good. It's a good record.
Oh yeah, it really is. It's a fantastic record.
Yeah.
I might want to get that on vinyl if I see it for a good price.
For sure. Yeah. I think it would sound really good on vinyl.
Yeah, I think so too. My next one is I thought this was going to be higher, and then it kept on dipping more and more. Freedom.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Such a good album.
Yep.
The bookends being Rockin' in the Free World.
Yep.
Love Crime in the City. Just absolutely love it. I also love it in the live setting on Weld.
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. Don't Cry, Hanging on a Limb.
Yep.
But then in the middle, it starts to weigh down for me.
Right.
It starts to get a little bit too, I don't want to say soft because I love soft music.
Yeah.
But I just kind of lose interest until side 2 and Someday. It's a good track.
Right.
Someday. Do, do, do. And man, his rendition of On Broadway is pretty good.
Yes.
It really is. It's it deserves to be talked about.
Yep.
But Too Far Gone, of course we find out that was a 70s track.
Yep.
And it didn't appear until Freedom, but now that the archives are coming out, And that was also always a standout track for me off of this was Too Far Gone. But then I like it better in a 70s rendition with just acoustically.
Right.
You know?
I think he did it live a couple times too, eh? Like Too Far Gone is on Weld, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And it ends with Plugged In, Rocking in the Free World.
Yep, that's right.
And
debut of that song,
yeah, and I love them both ways, acoustic and with a full band.
Yep.
You know, Plugged In and Unplugged. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
He does a really good job of performing it. So that was my next one.
Okay.
Was Freedom by Neil Young.
Yeah, cool. What do you think of the song Wrecking Ball and No More on the B side?
On the B side, Wrecking Ball is a pretty good track.
Yeah.
And so is No More. I mean, this is a good album.
Yeah.
It really is. And I really like Wrecking Ball. It's a beautiful singing on Wrecking Ball, the vocals and the arrangements.
Yeah.
You know, again, this was another album that he was very ambitious with.
Yes.
You know, on the production and the music that he was putting together is very impressive.
Yeah.
This was
some good stuff on here. El Dorado is an excellent song, well written, tells a great story.
Yeah.
Good storytelling on this, and I like the mix of electric and acoustic, you know, back and forth.
Yeah, and the riff on El Dorado, you know, it's just great. Yeah.
No, for sure. I actually saw this tour when he came through.
Oh, did you?
Toronto, yeah, and he did a lot of these songs. I don't even remember who his backing band was. It wasn't the Horse, but
no, it wasn't the Horse.
He might have just. I'm thinking back. You know, this might have been a totally acoustic set that he did a lot of these songs. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Hanging on a Limb was just him and Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, beautiful pieces on here.
Yeah.
No, I always had a good feel for this record. I always liked it. I'll talk about it in a minute because it's higher up on my list. So.
You know, each track has different people on there, but the mainstays are going to be will be Frank Poncho and Rick Rosas.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
His go-tos for.
And this is when he was working a lot with Nico Bolas of the Volume Dealers.
Right.
So.
It's interesting, yeah.
Impressive.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so where are we at? I am at.
I think we're on number 7.
6. No, I did my 6.
Okay.
So I'm on 5.
Okay.
So 5 for me is Mirror Ball. And,
okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be high on your list.
Yeah. I like this record. You know, and you know what sold me on this mostly were the videos. You could not find any of the live tour video. And there's 3 out there that I found that somebody had posted. And I don't know if it's from the radio broadcast, from that CD I showed you, or whether it was from the tour. I believe they're in Europe. And I think they did a very brief tour, but they didn't call it a Mirrorball tour. It could be wrong. It was more of just a Neil Young, Pearl Jam type thing. It might have just been a one-off show. I'm not sure of the history, but there are 3 videos, and I have them on my YouTube page because I found them years ago, many years ago, and I downloaded them, and I put them back up on my page because I didn't want to lose them.
Right.
It was those videos that actually got me in. They do The Ocean. They do 2 of the other tracks. I forget which, but it was those 3 videos that sold me on this record because I was watching the live presentation, and the video quality is not great, but the sound is really good. It's not perfect, but it really got me into the energy of the record. And then also Song X, probably my favorite song on that record. She's got a good feel to it.
Which one?
Song X.
Oh, yeah.
Song X on that. It's one of the shorter ones, but it's got a good jam, excellent guitar work on it. That's what sold me on that record, and that's why it's so high on my list. It just has a really good feel to it. It's noisy, loud record, and I like it.
Yeah.
If I want to rock out, I put that on.
Yeah, I'm so surprised that I got it down so low on my list. But man,
it's okay. There's stuff you got down, I got below that I need to bring back up and revisit. So
yeah, because his output during this time was just amazing. It really was, and and it's a shame that so many people stop with his 70s and don't talk about beyond that. It's a shame because they're missing out on some of his best stuff. Where to the point where I think I like this better than I do of his 70s stuff. Because there's so much different variety.
So much. Yeah, he went almost like from his late 60s with Crazy Horse, like those first few records. Amazing. Yeah. Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. Excellent, amazing album. Yeah. And then went into the acoustic stuff in the 70s. And then, 80s, he did a lot of weird stuff, which is great. Experimental. And in the 90s, got back to this hard stuff and some other stuff.
Pushed it to the limit.
That's right. Exactly. But you know what it reminds me of, Andy? I always say this to Rush people. A lot of Rush fans split when in the 80s, when they went away from the big epics like Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings. When Rush got into the synth period in the 80s, a lot of people split. A good chunk of the fan base moved on. Yeah. They weren't into it. Well, when Rush returned, and that's fine, that's their choice. I love the 80s output, some of my favorite stuff. But when they returned to hard rock in the late 80s and early 90s, I'll give you an example. Counterparts, 1993, that came out, I believe. People missed out on that stuff because there were some albums around that late 80 period and early 90s that people missed out on, and because they had left. And then when they came back to the hard rock, bare bones type stuff, Counterparts, a lot of people didn't even know about that record, and they missed out because that's a killer album.
Oh yeah, I think we did a Drop the Needle on that too.
Yeah. It's got a 90s grungy feel to it, and it's got some amazing playing, minimal keyboards, and it's just an excellent record. And it's funny because I've talked to Rush fans who are old school Rush fans. They don't even know about that record because they took off, and whereas a lot of Rush fans stay on the journey, and because Rush was so progressive, they were always like Neil, experimenting. And this is what I liked about it. You never really knew what you were going to get. Yeah. And so my point is they missed out, kind of like people who moved on from the 70s with Neil, right? So
yeah, exactly. And it's so funny that you bring this up because I was on the Mark and Jerry BS sessions a couple weeks ago. We were doing our top 5 or top 6 of Rush. I think it was top 6. Yep. And Mark, his number 1 was Clockwork Angels.
Okay.
I was like, really? And I never gave that a shot. Yep. And I was taking my dog to the vet probably about a couple weeks ago, and there was heavy traffic here in Houston, so I threw it on. I said, man, this is heavy. This is so good.
Yeah, for sure.
And the way that he was talking about how there's a couple of tracks there where Neil Peart was saying goodbye.
Yes.
And I heard these tracks and I said, man, this was an album that I didn't miss out on. This was an album that I do need to visit.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. Clockwork is a very impressive piece of work.
It really is for their swan song, man.
Exactly. It hits people differently. It's probably got more tracks than a lot of the Rush albums. There's a lot of songs, but the playing is looser than I remember Neil saying Moving Pictures was the album they wanted to make. That was the peak for them. That was the true Rush album. And I believe he quoted that again with Clockwork. Like he was so proud of it because it should be fantastic, steampunk sci-fi story. It's funny, when that album came out, I listened to it, and the first time I heard it, the first song, Clockwork Angel, I was like, the hell is this? I wasn't sure. It had a different feel to it and a different tone. Yeah. But I grew to love it. And so then I listened to the book. I wanted to know the story before I went to see the tour in Toronto. And it's a journey. Like it's but it stands alone as a rock album, and the songs stand alone as rock songs. Just some heavy playing on there, and the guys are looser than probably they've ever been. They improvise more. They just have a looser feel. Neil was taking drum lessons leading up to that.
Oh my God! Really?
Freddie Gruber, yeah, and so it was interesting because it changed his style of playing, and he wasn't so stoic in his approach. And it's quite interesting history, but we'll get to that in another time. But,
but it's so crazy that one of the best drummers in rock history is taking drum lessons,
right?
For their 20th something album,
from a famous jazz big band era musician, from the guy was from like the Buddy Rich era of music,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so he taught him to hold the stick different and be loose and go with the flow sort of thing rather than be so, Neil in the old days is very, very, very precision based. So it's interesting.
You know what? The next time I listen to Clockwork, I'm going to go ahead, pay attention to the drums a little bit more and see how his style changed. That's amazing. That really is.
Look for the up. I don't know what you call it. I'm not a drummer, but when they go down the toms, Neil did a lot of rolls, right? Drum rolls.
Yeah.
Over the years. Couple producers, the guy that produced that record taught him to go up. So if you listen to a couple of songs, you'll hear that he's going up the toms, which is unusual. He starts in the low and he does a drum fill, and he's working his way up the toms. Although I have heard that I believe I've heard that same technique on Hemispheres. So I think he has done it before. Maybe he just forgot. I don't know. But
maybe he just forgot.
Yeah, maybe. But the guy was unbelievable, so as a musician. So. Anyway, what you got next?
I got Harvest Moon next.
Oh, okay.
As I guess we're at number 4, number 5.
Yep, correct. You're on 4.
Okay, Harvest Moon. This is a good album.
Yes.
The song Harvest Moon was my wife surprised me with it at our wedding. So we danced to Harvest Moon.
That was our wedding song.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was your wedding song, too.
Yep.
Harvest Moon.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I think we had like 6 wedding songs.
Okay.
One of them was Your Song by Elton John.
Yep.
Beautiful Day by U2. Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me, we played while we were cutting the cake.
Okay, cool.
None of these were my ideas.
Good choices, though.
Yeah, but there's the back of it.
Yep.
And here's the front of it. It's he's bringing back the same players from Harvest Moon. From Harvest. And the tracks on here, man, Unknown Legend, beautiful song.
Yep.
From Hank to Hendrix.
Yep.
Another great track, and of course the title track. We just talked about how not just how good it is, but how important it is in our lives.
Yep.
Also, one of these days, I'm going to sit down and write a long letter to everyone I know.
Yep.
Isn't that one of the greatest things you would want to do?
Yep.
Is to write letters to the most important people in your life.
Yep.
And Such a Woman is a good song.
Yep.
And also Dreaming Man.
Yep.
Dreaming Man is a really good song, and it's also the title track for one of his Neil Young archives that he's playing this live.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
He's playing a live taking of Harvest Moon.
Okay.
Old King, about his dog.
Yep.
It's a great track, especially for dog lovers.
Yep.
And we all know how Neil Young loves his pets.
Yep. For sure.
So,
Natural Beauty is probably one of the greatest pieces I've ever heard. And when this album came out, I was heavily learning how to play acoustic guitar, listening to Neil Young, and I used to play along with this record all the time.
Yeah.
And it was, again, right in the 90s. It was in one of my first apartments, and I didn't have any money, but I had a lot of Neil Young to listen to. So it was good. And this album is very special to me, too.
Yeah. It's a very special album, and I see it on vinyl. and it's somewhere in the 30s. And I should really pick it up. I really should. It's I really should. And I see it, and I don't. And I was gonna go pick it up, and then I think I picked up something else when I went back.
Yep.
So we are in the 4, 3, 2. Okay, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Psychedelic Pill. Excellent, Crazy Horse record. I can't think of a bad tune on the record. It's got the extended jams on it. It's got that Crazy Horse grungy feel. Good lyrics, good storytelling. I wish I'd seen the tour. I didn't get a chance. It came here to London, which is not too far from here. And I wish I had, because I think it was probably the last Crazy Horse tour, if I'm not mistaken. And I was really hoping before the pandemic that he was going to come out and tour one more time.
Yeah.
I believe it might be one of the last best Crazy Horse records. I'm not completely sold on Barn.
Yeah, I'm not either.
And I'm not feeling it. I just feel like, as we talked about, I want him to open up on Barn, and he doesn't. It leaves me wanting more.
You're waiting for it.
Yes, exactly. It's not happening.
And Colorado was okay.
Yeah, Colorado was okay. But Psychedelic Pill, it's got, Walk Like a Giant, the song Psychedelic Pill. I don't have the song list in front of me, but there's so many good tunes on here, and that's why it's my number 4,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. And I remember when right before the album came out on Sirius XM, they were playing Walk Like a Giant. That was the lead track before the album came out. Yep. And, man, I love the hell out of that song. That's why Psychedelic Pill is my number 4 as well.
That's funny.
I love this album. Since you didn't have the tracks in front of you, I'll go over them for you.
Sure.
Because they deserve it. Drifting Back.
Yes.
I mean, the leadoff track, it's 23 minutes long.
Yeah.
I dig Picasso. It's just going on and on. And I love how it starts off and then it stops and then it fades in instead of fading out. And it gets louder and louder and louder. Love it. Drifting Back. I love the track Psychedelic Pill, of course. But Ramada Inn.
Yes, thank you.
Talking about the breakup of a marriage.
Yep.
And how it's just beautifully written and it just jams. Born in Ontario is a nice little ditty throwaway. Well, no, not a throwaway, but you know what I mean? Just a nice little song there. And Twisted Road.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. This is my number 4 track. I love it.
Interesting. We have that same feel for it because it hit the same place. It's just a good album, It's like I said, it might be the last best Crazy Horse record for me. And I find anything since has just left me wanting more, and I really regret not going to that tour to see him.
Yeah. I don't think this tour came to Houston, because if it did, we would have gone, because this is about the time where whenever Neil Young comes to anywhere around here, I go. So he didn't come around.
No.
But Psychedelic Pill is my number 4.
Cool.
That's such a good album. It really is. And then you're right, that might be our last great. In fact, it's going to be. I don't see them topping this Psychedelic Pill.
I don't think so. I don't know. How old is Neil now? He's 70, 77, 76, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and this is he's in his mid-70s, and really, this was really Psychedelic Pill was a surprise. Yeah. Because they were just okay. They had some bombs at that time. And to come out with just quality stuff, it's just great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's well produced as well. Good quality there. I don't know. I'd love to say that he would tour one more time with Crazy Horse, but going to be the barn type stuff, I'm not interested. You know, I want to hear the crazy horse of yesterday, or 10 years ago, or you know, that sort of thing.
I've just seen him with Crazy Horse one time.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And
go ahead.
Oh, and I'm about to talk about it in just a moment.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are we at here?
You're at number 3.
3. Okay. So this is interesting. We're getting into the good stuff now. 3 is Freedom for me. Again, and as I said earlier, I love this record. It's got a really good feel. I think I love all the songs in this record. You know, I don't think there's a bad song. Great storytelling. Hanging on a Limb, El Dorado, and again, I was learning how to play guitar when this came out. So,
what a great album to learn acoustic guitar to. It really is.
Exactly. So, I learned later that I was teaching myself the wrong way to play, but I sounded good when I played with this record. So, again, this is a great '90s release. He
really
mentioned on Broadway. I love his version of that. Wrecking Ball. There's just some good stuff. Crime in the City. Don't Cry. Hanging on a Limb. There's a lot of emotion in this record too. You know, there's a lot of emotional stuff going on.
Yeah.
Breakups and you know, broken dreams and other stuff, and then regret, and then you know, commiserating on it. You know, someday I'm going to write a long letter. That whole thing.
Yeah.
So it has a flow to it. You know. Too Far Gone, and then Rockin' in the Free World, its debut.
Too Far Gone. Man, I still love that track. God, I just do.
It does. It sounds great. That was the thing I was going to say. A lot of these songs are well done. A lot of Neil's songs, and not just on this record, are transposed electrically and or acoustically. So he wrote a lot of them on acoustic probably, but they also become excellent electric versions, you know?
Yeah.
And back and forth. So I find that interesting. It's a sign, and I find a lot of these songs can do that. Just looking at it. And, you know, he's performed probably most of these, not all, acoustically, if not electrically. So anyway, great record, one of my favorites. So that comes in as what did I say? Number 3 for me.
Number 3.
Yep.
Well, my number 3 was the first time I saw Neil Young with Crazy Horse. And here I have the live edition of Return to Greendale.
Okay.
Yeah. This is part of the Neil Young archives as well.
Okay.
This Return. And like I said, I saw them live. This was in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, and August 2003. Because I met my wife in July of 2003. And all that I could talk about was about going to go see Neil Young. But as you saw on the video, it was a whole play on stage.
Right. Yes.
You know, and there's the Canadian flag and the American flag.
Yep.
Right there. And so it was a whole play on stage. And they acted everything out while Neil Young and Craig Horse were on the side of the stage.
Okay.
And the actors would be mouthing what Neil Young was singing.
Right. I saw some of that, and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and because you always hear about concept albums. It tells a story.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just can't connect the concept.
Yeah.
You know, you got to read about it. Well, we both know Neil Young writing is, I don't want to say simple, but it's easy to relate to.
Yeah, right.
So Greendale tells a great story. It's a good concept album.
Right.
From a beginning to end. It tells a story about this family that moves into a farm in Greendale.
Right.
And their beloved grandson shoots a police officer.
Oh, okay.
And a beloved police officer named Carmichael.
Okay.
And the song in the middle is called Bandit, and it talks about his life.
Okay.
About the grandson's life. And then it goes to Grandpa's interview, which to me is one of the best Neil Young songs in this era.
Right.
He talks about, and it's about a 13 or 14-minute track, and about what the grandparents are going through with the media, trying to get the story first of what's going on with their grandson. And you start to hear a lot of the way that the media acts towards crime and trying to get the story out first. And then you really need to sit down and hear it. I know how when you first put on this album, how it can be a turnoff, the first 3 tracks. But it does get better. It starts to get into the story. Once you hit the song Carmichael, I'm sorry, the song Carmichael, which is the name of the police officer that gets shot. He just, it's a simple, he pulls him over, and Jed is the name of the grandson. He just gets nervous and he freaks out, and he accidentally shoots him. Yeah, and it's a good story, and you follow it well with Neil Young and Craig Source pounding out the songs.
It's interesting because the visual that I saw with the DVD is impressive. It's a big stage production.
Yeah. It was like a play.
Yes, exactly, and it's exactly like a musical, and only a live musical in that sense. You got a band on stage, and you've got the dancers and actors, and mouthing and lip syncing and doing the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's a unique thing for sure. Okay, well, I'll check it out then for sure. I'll give it a full listen.
Yeah, because this was another album that you didn't know what you were going to get. Because my cousin Carlos was going to go with me, and then he had heard and we had read that this album was coming out. We read reviews that he was going to play the whole album, and my cousins were like, I don't know if I want to go to something like that. But we did go, and he played Greendale, and he came back out, and he did side 2 of Rust Never Sleeps.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then he finished it off with Let's Roll Another for the Road. Let's Roll Another Number.
Wow.
Is what he finished with. So he played all of Greendale. Side 2 of Rust Never Sleeps. And then Roll Another Number.
Wow. That's cool. That would be a great show then.
Yeah, it really was. It was outdoors.
Cool.
So
when they came out for the second set, was it just the band, or did they have the full?
Oh no, it was just the band. It was just Crazy Horse and Neil Young.
Crazy Horse, okay, got it. And
the amazing thing is that for all through Greendale, this was outside on a lawn, and I believe the Woodlands holds about what, Molly? About 13,000. How much? Less? Well, let's say 10. Less than 10,000. But the lawn is pretty big, and throughout Greendale, everybody was sitting down, just watching.
Yeah, cool.
And then it wasn't until the encores everybody got up and started to party a little bit. But man, I tell you, they were sitting down on the lawn. My cousin and I, we because we went with my aunt and uncle, and we went away from them and did a little, image over here on the side. And it was, and also if you listen to the song Bandit, he tunes his guitar very, very low. Where when he hits the strings, it's like twangy.
Cool.
And it's a really good track, and I really think that if you give it the time, you would enjoy it. I've got it. I got this like this. I've also bought the CD the week it came out. The CD also has it's got a bonus CD where he's doing it unplugged. And a DVD where he's performing it unplugged as well.
I see.
So yeah.
So should I start with the studio release then, or jump right into the live release, the Greendale live?
I'm sorry, what now?
Should I jump into the studio release, and then go to the live one, or?
Well, there's really not that big of a difference.
Okay.
Between them, but
I I love live presence. I love live records.
So go ahead and start off with a live, because it's really not that different.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
We'll do that for sure.
Yeah, and it's also, like I was saying, it's got that NYA right there on top. The NYA we've been seeing a lot lately.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, we'll add it to my list of things to listen to for sure.
Yeah. What's your number 2? I'm excited.
Probably my favorite Crazy Horse 90s output, Ragged Glory. And the only reason this is not on my number 1 is because Harvest Moon is up there, but I'll get to that in a second. Yeah. This record is amazing from beginning to end. And I did not see the tour. Well, it was the Wild Tour. Was the tour for this. I wish I had seen it, but everything about this record is great. There's so many excellent rock songs on here, and I've got a bootleg of the rehearsals called the Ranch Rehearsals. You can't find it anymore because I contacted the guy I got it from in Germany, and he said no, he didn't have any more. I wanted to get a couple. I was trying to find one for you, actually. I was going to send it to you, but he said no, they're all gone. I haven't seen it in years. So this album's got so many good songs. Love and Only Love, Mother Earth, Natural Anthem, Country Home, White Line, Fucking Up, Over and Over, Love to Burn, Farmer John, Mansion on the Hill, Days That Used to Be, Love and Only Love, and we go around. Excellent record. And this, if you have this on vinyl, hang on to it because it's not cheap. This is my original, and it's still clean. I played the heck out of it, and it's still in great shape, and it still sounds amazing. And it looks pretty good too.
I really thought that was going to be your number 1.
You know what? It was between this and Harvest.
Yeah.
Harvest Moon, I should say. This between the two, I really had to think about it and decide which one. But because I enjoyed Harvest Moon so much, and it's got my wedding song, and I was learning to play guitar on that, it ended up in the number 1 slot. You
spent a lot of time with it, yeah.
Yeah. If this was, if we were just reviewing Crazy Horse records, I think that would be a tough conversation, of course, to be able to do that. I don't know if we've done that, but this would be up there for sure.
We'll probably do that soon. Why not?
You know what? Why not? Exactly. That'd be a good one. But this is one of my favorite electric Neil Young Crazy Horse records.
Yeah.
Really stellar production too. Extended jams. It's got everything. It's got everything you could want. And if I was to tell somebody who hadn't listened to Crazy Horse, I'd say
start here.
Start with this one, and then go check out the '70s stuff. So they're in a good place here. Really good jam session here, and they're all on a peak right now during these sessions, right? So
yeah, you know what? Next month in April we'll do Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Now that you gave me that idea,
okay.
That's great because we can put them all together.
That's going to be a hard process for sure.
And I think there might be another one coming out soon.
Okay.
Is what I've been hearing.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And I read, you just reminded me, I read that I think it had something to do with Ragged Glory. It might be a Ragged Glory re-release, but with either live tracks or demo tracks or remastered or something of that nature.
Wow. Man, that would be something to pick up.
Yeah, I read a couple last year there was something titled Alchemy or something coming, and that's what it was. It was a Ragged Glory package of some kind.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally forgot until you mentioned that. So yeah,
I think I remember hearing something like that. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess it's something to get the taste of Born out of your mouth.
Yep.
It really is. My number 2. It's the inside of it, but this is Prairie Wind is my number 2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. There's not a bad track on here, in my opinion.
Right.
Not one. I was doing yard work the other day, And you know how when we got to do rankings, we listen to records when we're doing errands or doing whatever.
Yep.
But another song that stuck out to me was this old guitar because he played Hank Williams guitar on here.
Right.
And I remember my wife and I went to go see the movie because this was released down here at the theaters.
Okay.
And this was I forgot who the director was. Well, anyway, but this old guitar, you know, it's not mine to keep. I'm just taking care of it for a little while. It's a great track.
Yeah, yeah.
And at this time, also, he had just had brain surgery.
Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
When he had an aneurysm in his brain. And then he lost his father at the time.
Right.
And there's a couple of tracks on here that he talks about his father's. His father suffered from, what's the word I'm looking for? Because my grandmother also suffered from it too. So it touched me a lot.
Oh.
Of dementia.
Oh, yes. Okay. My mom had it too. Yeah.
You know, and there's a couple lines on here where he says, you know, he's trying to talk to his dad before too much time took his head.
Right.
You know, it's such a great track because, you know, that's what, you know, these people are brilliant people. And then out of nowhere, it's tough to see. It's so hard to see.
For sure.
The title track, Prairie Wind, is fantastic. There's a song on here called, is it Far From Home? No, but Far From Home is a good song. But there's a song on here. Oh yeah, Here For You. It talks like his daughter is going away for college and to go live her own life away from her parents, and this is his letter to her. Man, there's 10 tracks on here, and all 10 tracks are killer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Revisit it then. Yeah.
Prairie Wind. You know, also there's horns on here.
Yep.
He talks a lot about Canada.
Okay.
He talks a lot about his home.
Wow.
I really think that you should dig into this because this was another ambitious album by him where different instruments are thrown in there with a Neil Young feel.
Yep. I will definitely check it out then because it's funny. I listened to it when I got it and I didn't really click, but I still have a copy. So
yeah, you know, this clicked with me the first time I heard it.
Interesting.
And also a good buddy of mine named Jeremy Markintel. I was surprised that this had hit him as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I will definitely move it up and check it out then.
Yeah.
You've given me some stuff to think about then. That's good.
Yeah. All right. Number one. Give it to me.
Well, it's Harvest Moon for me is number one. And, we didn't talk about one of the songs on here, War of Man. That song is amazing.
Yeah.
It's got a great feel, great message. He talks about the gasoline and machines. It's a war of man. Baby creatures run back in their holes. All this stuff. It's got a great storyline to it. It's got a haunting feel to it. You can feel the machines coming and war and everything happening. And of course now with what's going on in Ukraine, it just reminds me of that. And it's just one of those excellent songs. And again, I think we talked about the writing and the different takes on this or different tracks. Hank Hendricks, great song. You and Me, Thinking About You and Me. One of these
the guitar fighting the TV. I love that line.
Yeah, exactly. Such a Woman for Peggy, I think. Probably for Peggy, yeah. And before they broke up, obviously. Dreaming Man, good song. Natural Beauty. Natural Beauty, I learned to play pretty well on my guitar. And that song moves me. I get teary when I listen to that because it has an ethereal feel to it. It's so much about the earth and what's happening. And he speaks about the Amazon, the destruction, and where are we going to be, for kids, right? So it's a very powerful song. And these are the type. He's making a statement here by writing a beautiful song. and it's very, very moving. And it's just a great record. I love this record.
And like in the 90s and early 2000s, he was putting these songs at the end that talked about the environment, that talked about nature.
Yeah.
And it was an ongoing thing for him.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. It's, to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Exactly. So, that you can't go wrong with that record.
No, you can't.
You put it on, you can listen to it front to back, and no complaints. So, love it. Excuse me. What do you got for number one?
Oh, if you haven't realized it or missed it, Ragged Glory.
Okay, interesting. We're so close. Yeah.
Ragged Glory, man. I tell you, this is I love it.
Yeah.
From beginning to end, I think it's one of his best albums. Period.
Yeah.
Even I've gotten used to Farmer John. At first I was like, that's horrible. Why do you do that? But it's a fun, trashy, old rock and roll, and they're just having a good time.
Yep.
Let me go through this, man. It's Country Home and White Line. That old White Line is a friend of mine.
Yep.
I really love Over and Over. It talks about the beginning of a relationship, and then the middle of a relationship, and you don't know if that relationship is over or not. But he's very nostalgic about it. It's always on in the back of his mind of what could have been.
Yep. Right.
And the two guitar solos in the middle there, it's so poetic because the song is a love song, but they jammed the hell out of it. It's like what he says, you can smell the horse on this, and you really can on that song.
Yeah, for sure.
Love to Burn is a great track. A Mansion on the Hill is a good song, but Days That Used to Be.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
There is nothing left for you, my friend, but just the days that used to be.
Yep.
And when this came out was in 1991, and I was a sophomore in high school. And I didn't know that much about Neil Young except for Heart of Gold and Old Man and stuff like that. But man, when I heard this, I go, really? That's the same guy?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And it started to know that. And as you can tell, I'm everything that Neil Young ever put out. I'll give it more than a chance. I'll give it all I got.
Yeah.
And I've been very rewarded with that. There's the back of it.
Yeah, cool looking. Back. Yeah.
And then just a great song. And if you can tell, Ponch is wearing a John Lennon song. A John Lennon shirt.
Yeah. Exactly.
These guys. Just so good. So that's my number one for Neil Young. Part 2 from 1989 to 2012 is Ragged Glory.
I totally get that. Like I said, it was between Harvest Moon and this one to become my number one. You're right. There's some great songs in here, and a lot of them, again, transposed live very well. Yeah. This was jammed out. Like, this record was jammed on the floor to tape,
Yeah.
And you can tell by the pictures, you can tell by the setting. They recorded this. It was not overdubbed. It's raw. It's live.
It's like they just pressed record and started.
A garage band, right? And that's what they are. And that's what the best thing about it. It's not overproduced. It's just raw and angry. I'm just reading the liner notes, and the only song that's not written by Neil Young here is
Farmer John.
Yeah.
I think that was by a band called The Premiers or something like that.
Yeah, Don Harris and Dewey Terry, 1959. That's interesting. Because I know a lot of people have done that song. It was quite popular back in the day, but Neil made it his own in that sense. But yeah, it's got a good feel to it. Like I said, I hope he comes out with some
expanded version
of this. Yeah, with some outtakes. The bootleg I have with the Ranch Rehearsals is interesting. There's about 4 versions of White Line on there, and he'll stop it right in the middle of it because he doesn't like it. So you've got like a 3-minute version, a 2-minute, a 4-minute, and a full version, and he'll just stop it on the floor. And I don't like it. Somebody messed up, whatever, stop. We're going to do it again. And then so there's quite a bit of stuff like that on there, and it's kind of interesting. So it's a neat thing to have, So it'll be interesting to see what he comes out with related to this album. But I can see why it's your number one for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of these songs were on the Weld CD, and and they sound great live too. Like they were meant to be played live.
Yeah.
Basically what they did when they recorded this, right? So Natural Anthem, Earth, or Mother Earth Natural Anthem. The live version with the bombing sounds and the air raids, sirens and everything. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah. When Neil Young does something, he doesn't do it halfway. That's for sure.
That's right.
And he believes in everything he releases.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Good choice.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Rock and Roll with Black Spinner podcast. I want to thank Will for such a great show. Thank you, Will. Really great to talk about Neil Young with you. We're on the same plane with him, and he's very important to both of us. And we learned a lot from, sometimes I think I know it all, and then, you pointed out some stuff that I need to go back and listen to. And also, so thank you for that.
No problem.
And thank you for everyone out there in Facebook Live land. Thank you so much for joining us and watching us and commenting. It was a great show. And like I said, next week we're going to be doing the best of 1987. And but Will and I will be doing the best of Neil Young and Crazy Horse sometime in April for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll do them all from 1969 to 2021 or 2022. Yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff I need to revisit because I remember when Landing on Water came out, I loved it.
Yep.
I loved Landing on Water. I thought that was a fantastic release.
And Life, remember Life?
Oh yeah, and the thing is that when it came to Life, you're the one that pointed Life out to me a little bit better, especially side 2.
Yeah.
When we were going from track by track.
Yep.
And I never really gave Life a chance. Well, pun.
Yeah.
But I never gave the album a chance, and now I love that side too.
Yeah.
So that means we're also gonna hit on Reactor.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some interesting stuff in that era and some obscure stuff, didn't get a lot of radio play, so I think people missed it, just for that reason. So that'll be an interesting endeavor.
So we'll get together. Oh, well, let's just do studio albums, or do you want to throw in the live too?
No, let's separate it out. Maybe we can do 2 sessions.
Okay.
Studio Crazy Horse and live Crazy Horse.
Okay.
I think there's enough content to work with. I'll put a list together and take a look, and let's think about it. So
I know for sure they're studio, and then probably they're live too, if you really think about it.
Sure. Yeah, because you've got 2 live records from the 70s. You've got 2 from the 80s, or you've got a couple from the 90s. There's a lot. There's Live Rust. There's Rust Never Sleeps. There's Weld. Year of the Horse. There's one more live Crazy Horse. I'm missing one. Maybe there is only 4. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Let me see here.
Yeah.
Let me see over here. I think they got oh well, of course, all of his compilations that came out, but we can't touch on those quite yet. That's a lot.
Right.
You know those NYAs, Road Rock. Is that with Crazy Horse? No.
No.
Let's see. Year of the Horse, Weld, Live Russ, Time Fades Away.
Right.
That was played live.
Yep.
But that wasn't a Crazy Horse. Wow.
No. Maybe we should do just Neil live records.
Yeah. His yeah, because they got killer albums.
Yep. We could do that. We could do live Neil Young live records, period. And then Crazy Horse studio records.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. We'll start off with the Neil Young Crazy Horse albums for April and then figure out something for May.
Okay, I'll make a list. Sounds good. All right. I'll send that to you. Great. Thanks for having me on, Andy. It's been
of course, anytime. Well, and if you want to start to break down some Rush stuff,
sure,
like some Rush episodes that you want to do,
sure,
because of course, like you and Al are the experts to Rush. So if there's a way or somehow that you want to break them down,
sure, okay.
I am more than open and willing to say, hey, let's do the topic you want to do.
Okay, sure.
You know,
that sounds good. I'll check in with Al and see. There's a couple ways we could approach that. So sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for hosting again, and always a pleasure to discuss music and Neil Young with you. And thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Also, remember we went through those songs, and I was going to make copies for you.
Yep.
Well, I've got a new console where I can record and make your tapes for you.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I am going to be working on that because I finally found a way to connect my tape deck to record. Okay. So I found a way. I just have to find blank tapes.
Well, when you have that time, send me your address also, because I've got some stuff for you.
Okay, great.
Send you.
Okay.
That I think you'd enjoy. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot again for all of y'all watching out there, and thanks a lot, Will. We'll be in contact in the next days and weeks, just like we always are.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right.
You take care, my friend.
You too. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.